Hi, I'm Mandy, and today I'm going to talk about something that is so pretty and smells so good and makes the funnest noise when you shake it. Coffee, but not in whole bean form, because we're talking about the Everest Base Camp Trek and what it's like to have coffee, drinks, and snacks on the trail. Okay, so what is the coffee like? Well, you're not gonna get these. I personally love the whole bean. It smells so good when you grind it, and I love my French press, but you're not gonna get this. What are you going to get? Something that's similar to this. It took me probably half the trek to realize that I was paying for instant coffee. If you are from the United States or a similar country, instant coffee is not very common, and it's almost seen as like a last resort if you really can't get anything else. Now, I personally, so this is Nescafe, and this is Nescafe. It is the exact same, it's the exact same coffee. I move every couple years, and shortly after I got here to Baltimore, I knew I was only going to be here for 3 years. And there's a lot of appliances that over the years I've stopped investing in because it's just not worth packing and moving and getting rid of and rebuying. And a coffee machine is the same way, because for the longest time I got off of coffee and I did not drink caffeine. Now I do it in moderation, and I'm a lot better with my coffee. And most of the time I do drink decaf, and you'll know it's decaf because it's green. Like, green just seems to be the international kind of sign for decaf. But I like instant coffee, and I've kind of gotten used to it for the most part, just because you don't have to have a machine. Now, I did expect in Kathmandu that the hotels would be similar to what I've experienced in most other places in the world, and that is when you get to the hotel room, you're gonna like instantly be greeted with a coffee machine and possibly a bunch of snacks, a little mini fridge. I don't know why I thought this, but that's what I thought. And I had a really nice hotel. Did not have any of those. What it did have was a little electric like water kettle. Similar to this. This is my gigantic one that I use to boil water for tea. Actually, I don't boil it because I like to drink it right away. So I get it just hot enough that I can drink it immediately from my adjustable temperature kettle. And you change it right on the handle. I love this thing. But they did have some of those, and I think that's most of the time so that foreigners have a way to have safe water, like you can boil the water. However, the problem with that, and the reason why you should still purify your water, is that in order to kill all of the dangerous matter in the water, it needs to boil. The last thing I read from the Mayo Clinic said 2 minutes, that it needs to boil for a solid 2 minutes. Like, it needs to be 212 degrees or above for 2 solid minutes. And the tea kettles in the hotels that I've experienced is that it reaches a boil and then it turns off. So you don't get that extra 2 minutes, and you can keep turning it on, but it will just get it up to 212 and then it turns right back off. So there doesn't really seem to be a way around that. But in Kathmandu, in your hotel, you will likely have little packets. That's actually where I got this one. I brought just one home with me, and I normally won't take things with me from the hotel room, but I wanted to be able to show you what it was like. So they have these teeny tiny little packets, and it says it's 2 rupees. 2 rupees. That's like, I don't know, maybe like a 20th of a cent in US dollars. So they're very inexpensive. But in Kathmandu, you'll get a little water pitcher, a little one, and then you'll get a couple of these and then some tea bags. and all the tea seems to be caffeinated. I could not find caffeine-free tea anywhere, and I also couldn't find any decaffeinated ones of these. Like, they were all caffeine. So if you love your caffeine, you're all set. And if you're like me and like, I don't need caffeine, like me on caffeine is crazy, but it's really hard to find decaf. So if you're not used to instant coffee, it might be a little bit of a shock. So if you absolutely have to have coffee, maybe you can practice getting used to it ahead of time, or you can maybe find a brand that is more enjoyable to you than another brand, and possibly you could pack your own. Like, you could just find little serving sizes about like this, and you can just take them with you. But when you buy coffee along the trail, you're going to get instant, and they don't give you a packet. They just take like a jar like this and just scoop it into your cup, and then they do that in the kitchen, so you don't see it, and then they just bring it to you. Again, I don't know how it took me so long to catch on, but it is definitely instant. I would say probably by day 3, I think it was just really watered down. And I was like, this is 100% instant coffee. And then I was right. And then I was a little bit angry, honestly, like internally angry, because I'm like, how do I just pay $3 for coffee that is instant? I mean, for $3 you can get a Starbucks coffee, like not a fancy one, but you can go to Starbucks. You can pretty much go anywhere and get a rather large size, just plain black coffee for $3. And then when you do that a lot, it adds up, but you're just gonna get a tiny little scoop of instant coffee. So just beware, you're not going to be able to get even regular regular coffee necessarily from the whole bean. And if you're not familiar, instant coffee has already been used. Like, it gets used once, like boiling water gets run through the ground beans, and then it gets dried out, and then it gets put in the oven to completely remove all the moisture, so you have those like crunchy crystals, and then that's your coffee. It might actually be done a couple times, so that's what you're gonna get. And it's not gonna be necessarily cheap for instant coffee. So I want to say this entire container, it's 7 ounces. This entire thing is maybe $7 or $8. So you definitely are going to overpay on the trail. You are definitely going to overpay if you're going to drink coffee, and tea is the same way. It does come in a tea bag. They'll actually just give you boiling water and then a tea bag. And if you want more water, you'll have to pay for that. So that is what coffee is like on the trail. And I had to Google this a little earlier today, because I was like, why are they using instant? Like, everyone everywhere uses instant. And I thought it was just maybe a thing on the trail. But then I got back to Kathmandu and saw that they do it. And then I traveled more through Asia after my trek was done. I realized, like, it's just a thing. Everyone uses instant. It doesn't matter if you go to their house or to like the nicest resort or a restaurant, you're going to get instant coffee. But what I learned, if you're interested, is that a lot of people don't have brewing machines. So they don't have, I love my French press. It's like just small for just me, so I don't have to share. But a lot of people, they just don't have the French press or the pour over, or maybe they don't even have an electric. This one is electric. You just put it on that little stand, and then it will heat it via wall outlet. But a lot of what I saw is that water was boiled over some kind of gas, some kind of a gas stove. And so all of these wonderful things that we have and that we probably take for granted is just not an option to many people in much of the world. And that was a total surprise to me. So it just makes me want to go hug everyone. Like, go back to Nepal and just hug everyone, and take 1,000 French presses with me, and whole bean coffee. So it's not a surprise to you. Just know you're only going to get instant coffee, and it's probably going to be just regular. I think this is a bold. This one was really strong. It doesn't say what the roast is, But I remember it, besides the couple that were really watered down, I remember it was a lot stronger than I like it. So it was really hard to drink it. It wasn't very enjoyable. Okay, so what does a coffee cost? Generally between a 6-ounce cup and a 9-ounce cup, just whatever size they just happen to give you. It starts in Lukla. It's pretty cheap. It's about 50 rupees, which is maybe, I don't remember, maybe something like 30 cents, 30 US cents. So it's really cheap at first, but again, you're just getting hot water and some instant coffee. And then as you get maybe to just past Namche, it's going to go up to about 250 rupees. So there's quite a jump there. And then it stays at that price for the next 2 or 3 days. And then as you get closer to the summit of Everest Base Camp, it's going to jump up to about 350 rupees. And this price is for black coffee. So if you want milk in your coffee, there's a little bit more of a charge. It's generally based on the price of the coffee. It's generally about 10% more. And if you are one of those people that loves the sugary, syrupy, flavored coffee creamer, there is none of that. It's just regular cow's milk. I think it's cow. But it's just regular milk, and that's all you'll get. And you don't get to add it yourself. They'll do it in the kitchen and then they'll bring it to you. So you don't have any kind of say or control over how much milk or how little milk. It's just going to be your instant coffee and your hot water with however much milk they give you. So again, just know that that in advance so that you can be prepared. Like, we don't want a bunch of grumpy truckers because you don't get your coffee. Okay. How do you pay? Everything along the trek from when you get to Lukla until when you leave is going to be rupees. So in Nepal, they use the rupees. That is all anyone takes. No one will take any other kind of currency. They might ask you, like, especially if you're from the United States, if you have like $1, because they want to collect money, but it won't be in exchange for anything. They'll just want you to give them $1, which I love foreign currency too, so I don't blame them, but you won't be able to pay with anything without rupees. So you're gonna need rupees, and if you want to get your coffee, it's gonna be rupees, your food, your snacks, your bottles of water, if you're buying toilet paper, if you're buying hand soap, whatever you buy, you're gonna need rupees. Okay, so coffee is no different. Everything is with rupees. And where can you find it? So we're talking about coffee, drinks, snacks, and pretty much anything else you would need. Pretty much everything is sold together. So if you want coffee, you can also buy Pringles, and you can also buy Oreos, and you can also buy toilet paper, and you can also buy soap. You can generally buy all these same things and bottles of water all at the same place. And these places are the tea houses, obviously. So your overnight lodging, those are the tea houses. You can buy any of these things at the tea houses. Their whole purpose is to accommodate a traveler for at least an overnight period. So anything a trekker could need for that overnight, within very basic reasonable accommodations here, they can meet that need, right? So again, your basic instant coffee, a little bit of milk, food, toilet paper, soap, basic things like that you can get at the tea house. You can also get at little shops. Sometimes there are shops that are not restaurants, that are not necessarily like big stores. They're just little tiny shacks that have supplies, and they have the windows open, and it's really small. It's just big enough for one person to stand in there. So you'll find these little shops all along the trail. The more remote the villages, the smaller the store will be. And I've noticed that there wasn't always someone manning it, but the windows were still open. And by that, I mean like Asian windows. So they're not like the windows in the United States where there's panes of glass in it, and there might be like a decorative window awning or curtain or blinds over it. Like, it's just like an empty box. So it's an empty box with the wood paneling opened so that you could see and grab and touch. And so in the instances where I didn't see a person, it did look like everything was still open, so you could possibly take what you want and leave the money, or possibly maybe just ask around. I'm sure that the attendant probably hasn't wandered too far. They probably live in one of the houses immediately nearby. There's also a couple instances on that big push up to Namche Bazaar where there were a couple people that climbed the mountain, likely with horses or mules or some kind of animal that did most of the heavy lifting for them. But they will be up there with big bottles of water and some fresh fruit in the peel and a couple snacks. I saw some cookies, and they didn't have anything hot or cold, so you wouldn't likely be able to get any coffee unless you went to make a cold brew, which I love doing. And that's what really got me into instant coffee, besides the fact that I didn't want to invest in an actual like electronic coffee making machine, is that I wanted to be able to make coffee while camping. And clearly not going to bring anything electronic with me to do that job. So instant was really the way that I thought would be best for me. So on colder mornings, I do like to make cold brew if the days are hot but the mornings are cold. Cold brew is great. And then in the winter, obviously, I just want my hot coffee. But if you get a bottle of water or you happen to take your own little packets of coffee, then you could probably just dump it into your water bottle, shake it around, and in 10 or 15 minutes, you could have some cold brew. Or maybe some room temperature brew. But it's not going to be ice cold and nothing's going to be hot. But you might get lucky and find some people that use horses to carry some stuff up partway through the mountain, and then they just stop and they set up a little like crate stand, and they just stack their crates and then sell their goods for the trekkers, which is actually very nice because it's not advertised what you're going to get in a certain stretch. Like, it'll tell you how many kilometers till your next destination, but it does not say how many water fountains there are in between here, there, or how many opportunities there is to find water, or how many opportunities there is to get food. It doesn't give you anything besides the kilometers. So everything else you just have to kind of figure out on your own. So that is a good opportunity to get something if you realize you're not up the mountain yet and you still need something. All of the other drinks are comparable to coffee. The tea is about the same price as the coffee. And for the snacks are like the drinks in that they start off relatively cheap and then they get really expensive by the time you get to the top. I remember giving a tip of cookies, and I wanted to say thank you to someone that helped me out a lot. And so I just told him he can pick any snack he wants to and I would pay for it. And he got a box of cookies, and it wasn't even a big box. It was maybe the size of like a bag of coffee beans, and it was $9 US, and there weren't that many cookies, and the cookies did not even look that good. So I did not buy any snacks for myself up or down the trail. I'm just not a big snacker now that I'm on like a sugar-free diet for the last couple of years. And then the food they give you, the servings are so gigantic that for me at least, I didn't even have room for anything else. The snacks start off relatively within like a couple dollars. Like, you could get chips for maybe $2 US and in Lukla, and then you're going to be paying $10 or $12 for them up near Gorkshep and up near the top. So that is what the coffee, the drinks, the snacks are like, what they cost, how do you pay. Remember, everything is in rupees. Don't be too shy to take a lot of rupees. You will need a lot, and you'll probably need a lot more than you think. Even if you don't plan on buying snacks or buying a whole lot of drinks, extra expenses do come up. I did have to get a couple extra hotel rooms or tea houses that weren't planned because I couldn't find mine, or because I booked it and I wanted to stay in a different village because I wasn't quite there yet, or I wanted to go a little bit further. So you might need different or more articles of clothing. You might want to get some boiled water just because it's a really cold day or a really cold night. So always take some extra. And then where can you find the coffee, drinks, and snacks is pretty much everywhere. Like, rightfully so. The villagers along the trail, they really they appreciate the visitors and they want to make money. Like, it's a good opportunity for them, so they will sell you things all the way up. So you will not have a hard time finding people that are willing to take your money in exchange for snacks, water, toilet paper, things like that. So no worries there, everyone wins. Oh my goodness.